Let's now move on to the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen makes up 78% of our atmosphere by mass and is the sixth most abundant element on Earth. Nitrogen is an essential element in biomolecules such as proteins, DNA, and RNA, and is thus of vital importance to us and to all other organisms. The nitrogen cycle is split up into 4 parts: how nitrogen moves, nitrogen fixation, nitrogen and denitrification, as well as the human impact on the nitrogen cycle. Firstly, how nitrogen moves. Nitrogen is chemically inert and cannot cycle out of the atmosphere and into living organisms without assistance from lightning, highly specialized bacteria, or human intervention. Thus, the element is relatively scarce in the lithosphere and hydrosphere. Once it undergoes the right chemical change, it becomes biologically active and available to organisms and can act as a potent fertilizer. Its scarcity makes biologically active nitrogen a limiting factor for plant growth. Next, let's look at nitrogen fixation. To become biologically active, nitrogen gas needs to be fixed or combined with hydrogen to form ammonia. Ammonia dissolves in water to form ammonium ions, which can then be taken up by plants. This can be accomplished by the intense energy of lightning strikes, or when air in the top layer of soil comes into contact with particular types of nitrogen-fixing bacteria. These bacteria live in a mutualistic relationship with many types of plants, such as soybeans and legumes, providing them with nutrients by converting nitrogen to a usable form. Some farmers nourish soils by planting crops that host nitrogen-fixing bacteria among their roots. Nitrogen and denitrification. Specialized bacteria can perform denitrification. In this process, ammonium ions are converted into nitrite ions, and then they are converted into nitrate ions. Plants can take up these ions, which also becomes available after atmospheric deposition on soils or in water, or after application of nitrate-based fertilizers. Animals obtain the nitrogen they need by consuming plants or other animals. Decomposers obtain nitrogen from dead or decaying plant and animal matter, and from animal urine and feces. Once decomposers process nitrogen-rich compounds, they release ammonium ions, making these available to nitrifying bacteria to convert again to nitrates and nitrites. Next, denitrifying bacteria converts nitrates in soil or water to nitrogen gas via a multi-step process. Denitrification thereby completes the cycle by releasing nitrogen back into the atmosphere as a gas. Lastly, we'll now talk about the human impact on the nitrogen cycle. Historically, nitrogen fixation was a bottleneck, a step that limited the flux of nitrogen out of the atmosphere. This changed with the development of the Haber-Bosch process to synthesize ammonia, a key ingredient in modern explosives and agricultural fertilizers. With the Haber-Bosch process, we have effectively doubled the rate of nitrogen fixation on Earth, overwhelming nature's denitrification abilities. By enhancing agriculture, the new fertilizers contributed to the past century's increase in human population. Fixing atmospheric nitrogen with fertilizers increases the flux of nitrogen from the atmosphere to the Earth's surface. This flux was enhanced by cultivating legume crops, whose roots host nitrogen-fixing bacteria. We reduce nitrogen's return to the air when we destroy wetlands that filter nutrients, as wetland plants host denitrifying bacteria that converts nitrates back to nitrogen gas. As such, wetlands can mop up a great deal of nitrogen pollution. Farming practices speed runoff and allow soil erosion, so nitrogen flows from farms into terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, leading to nutrient pollution, eutrophication, and hypoxia. Burning of forests and fields also forces nitrogen out of the soils and vegetation and into the atmosphere. Burning of fossil fuels releases nitric oxide into the atmosphere, where it reacts to form nitrogen dioxide. This is a precursor to nitric acid, a key component of acid precipitation. Nitrous oxide is released when anaerobic bacteria break down the tremendous volume of animal waste produced in agricultural feedlots. Over-application of nitrogen-based fertilizers can strip the soil of other essential nutrients, such as calcium and potassium, because the fertilizer flushes them out. And this brings us to the end of the nitrogen cycle.